My name is Dave King. I'm founder and CEO of Exaptive. We're based out of Oklahoma City with our headquarters in Midtown. Exaptive is a real word. It's based on this word called exaptation. And in the early 80s, Stephen Jay Gould, who is an evolutionary biologist, he wrote a paper that was called Exaptation, the Need for a New Word in Science. And what he was looking at in evolution was that most people are interested in adaptation, something getting better and better for a particular purpose due to a set of survival advantages. What Stephen Jay Gould saw is that if you look at enough examples of evolution, you see that it's not always adaptation that leads to new traits. There's this other thing that they didn't have a name for, and he called it exaptation. And it's when something that starts out because of one set of advantages gets serendipitously co-opted for something completely different and ends up thriving there. It turns out that birds' feathers originally evolved to keep birds warm, to keep animals warm. They trapped a lot of air. And if you trap a lot of air and a predator chases you off a cliff, you might flutter down and not die, and that means you get to reproduce. And many generations later, that turns into flight. So flight is this sort of serendipitous exaptation from warmth. What does this have to do with my company? Well, I became convinced that this idea of exaptation wasn't just a biological phenomenon, but that this was a really good cognitive phenomenon, that a lot of the big insights that people have, those aha moments, are mental exaptations. The aha moment is that moment where something that you thought only applied in one area, in one context, you realize it can apply in some other context, and that's when the big innovations happen. And so the whole idea behind founding Exaptive was to create a software platform that facilitated those sorts of mental exaptations. We have a number of Oklahoma clients. Very happy to have been able to work with the University of Oklahoma and have an ongoing relationship there. We've worked with a company called Moleculara, which has a diagnostic test for a pediatric disease called pandas. We've analyzed some of the data on their some of the data coming out of their tests to try and help them understand different cohorts of patients inside the pandas diagnostic. I'm relatively new to Oklahoma. I moved here just a couple years ago. My wife and I were living in Boston. We'd lived in Boston for 20 years. I'd started Exaptive in Boston, had an office there and clients there. And then my wife got an amazing tenure track opportunity at the University of Oklahoma, so it was time to move to Oklahoma. And I was very nervous at first about the move. I didn't know if I'd be able to grow the company the way I was growing it in Boston in Oklahoma City. But when I got here, I was really delighted at what I found. I think that what I didn't expect is the emphasis that Oklahoma City was putting on growing their tech entrepreneurship and trying to diversify into other areas like the software and the data space. And so I found an environment that was very welcoming to startups, very welcoming to my type of startup. I was able to do some fundraising here to create a home-based office. And over the course of my first year here, we actually moved the headquarters of Exaptive from Boston to Oklahoma City because I have been delighted with this place as an environment to build a company. When I met with I2E, I told them the vision we had for Exaptive, which is a very big vision, the idea that we can actually facilitate innovation in a way that hasn't been done before. And I asked them if that scared them off, the size of that vision. And they said to me, well, we have a very big vision. We want Oklahoma City to be the Silicon Valley of the Midwest. And I thought that was fantastic. And so, what I2E and OCAST have brought to me beyond just funding is a partnership in having a big vision for what can be done here in Oklahoma City. I would love to help contribute to making Oklahoma City the Silicon Valley of the Midwest, and I think it could be. We're very interested not only in building software, but building community. So we've done a number of things inside the Oklahoma City community, like this meetup, and it's actually called Data Plus Creativity. And the idea is to look at the intersection of technological advances in data with areas of human creativity and insight. And it's been really great to see the sorts of people that we're getting that are coming to that meetup. Not just technical programmers, but also cognitive scientists and designers, graphic designers, and people with creative backgrounds. And the reason we're doing this is because, when I moved to Oklahoma City, I found that there was a lot of places to talk about the weather, and there was a lot of places to talk about sports, but I didn't find a lot of places to talk about all the sorts of nerdy topics that I like to talk about. And so when we started the company here, we thought we could create a nexus point for those sorts of conversations. So among other things, every couple months we show a nerdy documentary on our big screen projector, and we have a bunch of people show up and then have a discussion around it. And I'm not the only organization, Exaptive isn't the only organization trying to help cohere the community around these sorts of things. Creative Oklahoma is also making efforts to pull together the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and I'm happy to be on the board of directors and excited to see the contributions they're going to be able to make there too. I think that ultimately anyone who's building a company, they might feel like they're building a company or feel like they're building a product. I think ultimately what they're doing is building a team. That's how I think about it. A product is nothing more but the sort of reverse anthropomorphization of the people that make it. And so for me, the most important piece is the quality of the people that are working in the company. And what I've been so impressed by being here in Oklahoma City is the quality of the people that I've been able to hire, that I have the privilege to work with every day. And I've really, when I came to the Sooner State, at first I thought, oh, that's sort of weird to say the Sooner State. Weren't those the guys that sort of went in and stole the land? And but I see it completely differently now. I think that for someone to be a Sooner, for somebody to look at a pretty desolate area of country and not be intimidated by that, but quite the opposite, to look at that and say, I could make a home there, and then to be willing to actually just go and do it and put in the hard work and take the initiative, not wait to be handed that land, but to go in and do all the hard work to make a home in an area that's barren. I actually think that's exactly what entrepreneurialism is. You see an area that's barren, where there is no product there yet. You don't wait for somebody to invite you to build a product there. You go in and you do the hard work that it takes to make a home for your business there. And so I think the thing that's fantastic about building a company in Oklahoma is the Sooner mentality and the entrepreneurialism that's behind that mindset.